here to join us. Just a few announcements before we get started. Again, practices will be in the afternoon. This year, either starting at 3 or 3:30, we'll send out media availability each week via email. If you're not on our media email list, you can access that at office.big10.org/media. You can sign up for our media email list. Following coach, we'll have lunch available outside, and we'll take you over to the Volkswagen Arena. We'll have the select players over there. Not all players will be there today due to some class commitments, but if there's anyone you need going forward who's not there today, just let us know and we'll get set up with that. With that, I'll turn it over to Coach Collins.
All right, good to see you guys. I was going to wear my Brian McIntosh t-shirt, but it's dirty, so I apologize for that. Obviously, we're excited about getting going. It's a great time of year. Guys have been doing a really good job with the preseason. Been banged up a little bit here or there, which has affected some of our practices, but nothing long-term, with the exception of Rapolis. He will be having surgery, I believe, next week once he gets through midterms, and we expect a full recovery. And obviously upset that he won't be with us this year, but got to view it as a positive, and gives him a year to kind of get healthy, get stronger, take everything in this year, and come back hopefully with the medical red shirt and be a freshman next year. So the guys we do have, it's been great to have some veterans that have been around. Our culture is pretty good in terms of the way we work and what's expected and the way we do things. And so having that core group of juniors and seniors that have now been with me since my first year has made kind of the transition to the new season a little bit more seamless. We really only have two guys that we're trying to catch up to speed with things, with Isaiah and Barrett. So certainly McIntosh is going to be our leader. There's no question. I thought he's had a great summer. Feel like he's physically stronger, which is something he's continued to work on the last couple years, and just a little bit more vocal and just a little bit more in control of things, which is always a good thing when you see that in your point guard. Excited about the return of Vic Law. We missed him last year. His versatility, his athleticism, ability to make plays, to take some pressure off McIntosh and Demps last year was something we sorely missed. And then I'm excited to see, to me with our team, and you see this in college basketball because guys graduate or go pro early, you always have a group of guys in college teams that, guys above them kind of leave and it's their time to step up. And you see that all the time. And for me, we got a group of guys that we believe in and believe that they're going to be very good players, but have kind of been wild card players for us where, you may get a great game and then a not so good game. And it really wasn't expected for them to show up every night because we had Bryant and Trey and Alex that were kind of our core guys that we leaned on. So, with guys like Scott Lindsay and Vic Law and Aaron Falzone and Derek Pardon and Gavin Skelly, guys like that, to me, those five guys, we know what we have in Sanjay. I mean, he's going to be who he is. He's our blood and guts. He's our tough, gives us our toughness and our grit and all those things. But those five guys I mentioned, to me, are really the key to our team. Because I think if they can do what we feel they can do and believe that they can do, then we can have an outstanding season. And it's their time to kind of step up and take control of what they can and be constants for us and not wild cards. So I'm interested to see how those guys can respond to kind of stepping into those roles. So be free to answer any questions.
Hey there. Just want to ask about Vic. Is his game any different pre-injury, and what's he last several months been through, things along those lines?
You just, anytime, which stinks, you hate when kids get hurt, but anytime you see that, a lot of time you see a renewed sense of hunger just because the game was taken away from him for so long. You think sometimes you might take for granted as a player that you can just play. And, for Vic, all of a sudden he wasn't able to play, for 5 or 6 months, and he had to sit back and watch a whole season and want to be out there. And so I've seen a renewed sense of hunger out of him, a focus of wanting to get back. For him, his body looks good. He's healthy. He's bouncy. He's moving around great. Now it's just going to be how long is that rust going to take to shake off when you don't play for a whole year, just getting back in the swing of things, playing in game situations with referees in front of a crowd, all those things, there's always an adjustment when you don't have that. So hopefully that transition will be shorter because we need him. I mean, he's a big part of what we're doing and a very versatile guy. And I've said it. I mean, his game is going to remain pretty much the same. We need him to do a little bit of everything. He's a jack of all trades type of player. You know, we need him to defend the other team, one of their top guys. We need him to rebound at a high level. We need him to make plays. We need him to score. And I think he can do a lot of those things. And we're going to be relying upon him to be a key guy for us for sure.
Hey, Coach. So how big of a impact do you think Derek Pardon's going to make this year, and where have you seen him either improve over the offseason or in the early stages of the preseason?
Yeah, I mean, it's his time. I mean, you know, losing Alex and then Joey, you know, two senior big guys. You know, fortunately, Derek did get the experience last year. I think now that helps, having gone through it first season and kind of knowing what the grind of a year entails and how good you have to be and how you have to take care of yourself and playing that position. He got quality minutes, you know, throughout the whole conference season. So he's a different player than Alex Ola. You know, they're not the same. There's some things we can do with Derek maybe that we couldn't do with Alex, but also some things we did with Alex that maybe you can't do, you know, with what Alex's skill set was. So, you know, I'm excited for Derek. You know, he's really a determined kid. He's a hardworking kid. He's really focused. He's unique. You know, he's a little bit undersized, but with that wingspan and his ability to run and his activity, I think he can cause a lot of problems, you know, for other teams, big guys, running the floor, getting on the boards, you know, getting some energy points. You know, right now in his career, he's not to the level maybe to score in the post like Alex was. But it's something we're working on a daily basis. Hopefully he'll improve that. But, you know, I think he can bring some things to the table maybe that we didn't have at that position the last couple of years with his athleticism and mobility.
Sort of sticking on that point, do you expect as a team to run more this year without Alex, and how else do you expect to try to neutralize missing Alex? Yeah,
I mean, I think we have to. We're a little bit more athletic, you know, when you add Vic. Isaiah Brown, who you guys will see, is a quick, fast guard who can push the ball and make plays in the open floor. Pardon as a mobile big guy. Actually, Barrett Benson, you know, can run the floor pretty well as a big guy. There's going to be times, you know, when we even might have to go to a smaller lineup and play Gavin a little bit there and you know, go to a little bit more of a small ball lineup. I think that can be hard for teams to defend. So we'd like to push the tempo. There's no question. If you are in a possession-by-possession game, especially once we get into our conference, points can be really hard to come by. So, you know, one of the things that we have to do a better job of, though, to run more is we have to do a little bit more better job forcing some turnovers. You know, that was a real weakness of ours last year. We were a pretty solid defensive team in terms of field goal percentage defense and points allowed per game. But we didn't get a lot of easy baskets because, you know, we were we were in the bottom end in steals per game, turnovers forced, things like that. So, you know, a lot of times you can run from turnovers. And so it's something, we are a little bit longer, we are a little bit quicker, we're a little bit more athletic. You know, I'd like to create a little bit more havoc on the defensive end if we could. You know, that's been a point of emphasis here in the preseason. Yes.
For Isaiah and Barrett, what sort of role do you see them playing in their freshman seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I see them both, you know, being in the rotation, you know, for sure. You know, they bring some things that we could really use. I mean, they both have really bright careers. I'm excited about both of them. You know, they're smart guys. They both have a really good IQ for the game. In Isaiah's case, I mean, he just can score the ball. And you know, he's the all-time leading scorer in the history of Seattle basketball, you know, with guys like Jamal Crawford and Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics. And I mean, it's a storied history of players out of that city to be the all-time leading scorer. You can score. And, you know, I don't care if you're playing out there alone to score 35 points in 32 minutes in a high school game on average. You can put it in the basket. And, you know, losing a guy like Trey, you know, we're going to need guys who can score. So, you know, his ability to make plays, I think he's going to take a lot of pressure off McIntosh. I think they can play together at times where you get two guys who can play and pick and roll and make plays and find guys and score. You know, I think that'll be a unique lineup that those two guys, I think, you know, at times of games we can put them together. And then it allows us to, at times when Bryant's not in the game, which was very few and far between last year. Maybe it'll allow us to get him a little bit more rest at times and allow Isaiah to run the team. So he's going to be a key guy for our backcourt. And then with Barrett, really with Derek, I mean, we're planning on those two guys tag team in that position. And, we can slide Gavin there a little bit if we need to, if we want to go small. But, I'm anticipating Derek and Barrett being the guys, at that 5 position to kind of take on those minutes. And, he's got a Big Ten body. He's legitimate 6'10". He's close to 250 pounds. He's not afraid to bang. He's a physical player and a smart player. And, certainly a freshman big guy, he's going to have his ups and downs, and you get a freshman whistle sometimes as a big guy, having to deal with foul trouble and learning what he can and can't do out there. But, I think he's going to get valuable minutes, and I anticipate both those guys having outstanding careers here. I'm really high on both of them.
Coach, you've mentioned Vic's versatility, but where do you see him, at least initially, starting and fitting into the starting lineup? And with he and Falzone never having played on the court together, how do you think the dynamic will be between them?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that's part of the preseason right now. Is you mix and match lineups and kind of see who plays well together. What kind of lineup do you want to start? Who do you want to start? Who do you want to bring off the bench? How does that all work out? You guys remember a couple years ago, I mean, Trey was one of our best players, but we brought him off the bench because we liked his pop, and he ended up being our closer, but he didn't start. So, I don't know yet what that's going to be. I mean, I think McIntosh will be in there, and I think Pardon will be in there. And, after that, we're still kind of figuring out, who we're going to start and who we're going to bring off the bench. So been playing a lot around with a lot of lineups, but I do like the versatility. Like when you put in those middle spots, you put Vic out there with Scotty, who's also 6'5", 6'6", and Falzone at 6'7", 6'8", Sanjay, who's got good size. You got Skelly, who's got good size, Taphorn, 6'7". So we got some... you got some guys in those middle spots that are lengthy. They have good size. They're all pretty skilled, and we can put some different combinations. There can be times when Vic can be maybe as like a quote unquote 2-guard out there, with McIntosh, and he plays with Aaron and a Sanjay, or with Aaron and Skelly, or Taphorn, or Falzone. Those are things that we can do this year that I think we didn't really have those. Knock on wood, we can stay healthy, but we didn't really have that luxury to throw different lineups out there. And because Vic can do a little bit of everything, it allows you to be a little bit more creative with the 5 you put on the floor.
How good Bryant has been through 2 years. I mean, do you think? I'm sure you do think. How much better can he get? What can he show us that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a better player now than what he was last year. He's a little bit physically stronger. He's really taken pride. He wants to be a better defender. That was something that, he wants to be able to guard his position well. So I've noticed that there's a little bit more sense of urgency on that end of the floor, making plays on both ends. Part of that, too, is when your body's a little stronger and you feel like you're in a little bit better shape, you have the endurance and stamina to play both ends better. I'd like for him to be a little bit more consistent of a shooter. I thought at times he was a little bit streaky. And, we're going to need his scoring. I mean, we know what he's going to bring us with the assists and making plays, but he's going to have to be a double-figure scorer for us, no doubt. To me, maybe close to 15 a game. I think he was 13 last year. I'd like to see him, get to 15 or so a game if he could, and he needs to get to the foul line more. Hopefully now he's an older player. He's been an established player. Hopefully he can earn that respect where, when he gets in there and gets hit, he can get to the line. And because he's he's a great free throw shooter. So, that was another thing last year. We didn't get to the line enough. So that's something that we need to play stronger. We need to get to the free throw line and find a way to get points on that end. So those are all areas I think Bryant's really worked on in the offseason, and hopefully he'll be able to do a little bit better job this year than he did even last year.
Up on that, my question is about the campaign with the dime, the marketing promotion. Just how did that all come about, and what are your thoughts on it?
I thought it was great, really clever. I'm not smart enough to come up with that stuff. So it was definitely our marketing team. They do a great job. I loved what they did with Anthony Walker with the football, and I think it's just a way to promote Bryant. I think sometimes he gets a little bit undervalued in terms of how good he is. I think he's a premier point guard, and if you put his numbers and his efficiency and his usage rate and all those things playing at this level, I think you can match him up with most of the point guards in the country. And, I think it was a way for our marketing team to just kind of put that on stage a little bit and let people know that we do have a gem in Bryant, and he is one of the best players, not only in the Big Ten, but at his position nationally. And so I thought it was great. It was clever. The guys are having fun with it. So, we want to have fun along the way too. You take things serious, you work really hard, but this is their time. And I said it all along. Like when I first started, I understood that I needed to kind of be at the forefront with some of that stuff because I was kind of the face coming in. But now that we're transitioning where we do have outstanding players and guys, where I want it to be about the guys. So, I want people when they think of Northwestern to think that, it's Brian McIntosh's team, and that's because this is his time, and as other guys emerged as well, I want to always promote our guys as best as we can, and it was a great job by our people to put together. You guys wouldn't have believed the amount of buzz that it had, when we were at our media day in Washington last week. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was laughing about, what a cool thing it was. And, I think it's all those things can be helpful for our program. We're trying to continue to upgrade who we are as a basketball program. We have aspirations. We want to be legit. So when you're legit, you promote your players, you do things at a high level. And I think it was another step in the right direction for us.
You already touched on this a little bit, but now that Bryant is one of the more seasoned guards in the league, how do you think he will fare going up against some of the better guards, like, for example, Koenig or Nairn in the league?
Yeah, well, I think he's played well against those guys. I think he's had, if you look at his numbers against those guys you're talking about, I think he's had pretty good games against those guys. So, I said it last week when we were in D.C. I wouldn't trade him for any guard in our conference. And I'm biased because he's my player, obviously, and I'm sure those guys you mentioned would say the same about their player. But I love that he's running my team. I love that he's got the experience now, and he's set up to have 2 really good years, and not only in terms of numbers and all those things, but I think just his leadership. He's ready. It's hard when you're young to really take hold of a team and leadership-wise. It's just hard because you're young, you're trying to establish yourself, and now that he's an upperclassman, the guys all look to him, and he knows it, and I think he's taken a big step forward with his leadership this year.
Now that this is your program and you're fully vested here and you've got a body of work behind you, how have the goals changed for you, and what are those goals for this year?
I don't think they've really changed at all, to be honest. When we first came as a staff 4 years ago, my goal was to try to create a program in basketball that was going to be in the mix each and every season. And I think we knew in order to do that, it was going to take a little bit of time. It didn't mean that we, competed any less, but we knew if we wanted to do it the right way and if it was going to be something that was going to be long lasting, you had to attack recruiting and get the right guys in here, and it was going to take a couple years of the right guys to kind of start to turn the corner. I think our progression has been pretty good. I think we've gotten better every year. I think our talent level has gotten better every year. Our depth has gotten more every year. Our product on the floor has been better every year, and our wins have been better every year. So, for us, we're at that stage now, though. We got to bust through the door. I think everybody knows it, in these next couple years. This is the time you got to have that breakthrough. In order to take the next step, we have to have a breakthrough. You got to win significant games. You got to be a postseason team, and you got to continue to take those steps. And, we're confident. We feel we have good players, and I love the culture that's here, the way our guys approach everything. And my goal is the same. I know everyone wants to know about the tournament. That's one goal, but it's not the goal. The goal is to have a program that's good every year, and that is in the mix to be a tournament team every year. And we're not there yet. We're still working towards that, and we have a lot of work to do. But we're excited about what can happen this season. and I'm excited about what we've done. I mean, I feel like we've gotten better in a lot of areas, and still have a lot of work to do though.
So Brian McIntosh is obviously a player that is strong passing the ball, especially on the pick and roll. But after losing Joey and Alex, do you think other guys are going to step up to work on the other side of that play?
Sure. I mean, that's what I was talking about. I mean, that's the beauty of college basketball. I mean, you look at every team in our league. I mean, every team lost significant players, with the exception, Wisconsin, I think, brings back their starting five. But, everybody else has got to replace something. And that's what college sports is all about. These guys have a window of 4 years. So you're not going to have a quarterback there for 10 years or, a catcher and pitcher there that you can lock in forever. I mean, we get a small window, guys move on, and other guys got to step up. And that's what I mean. We have a group of guys that it's their time. It's their time to step up, and they've been in the program. They've shown that they could be good players, and now they have to step forward and they gotta produce the way that Alex and Trey did, and it was a progression for Alex and Trey. And those guys became those guys as they got the minutes and got older and got the experience. And now, it's on the Vic Laws and the Scott Lindsays and the Gavin Scout. Those guys are juniors now. And Aaron Falzone, he's got a year under his belt. He's Derek Pardon, year under his belt. So, I mean, really, I think those group of 5 guys, to me, are real key guys because they're guys that I believe in. I believe they're good players. I believe they can do it. I believe they can be very effective in our league. And it's on them now to go out and do it.
How do you foresee Derek handling the balance of, stepping into Alex's spot, but also being a leader for someone like Barrett?
Yeah. First is I think, Derek had a problem last year with foul trouble, and that's going to be, initially he's got to play a little bit smarter because we're going to need him. We don't have the luxury now of having the 3 guys. We're going to need Derek to play heavy minutes. So he's going to have to learn how to step away from some of the cheap ones, that he got last year. To be a little bit wiser and experienced in that regard. He's been great with Barrett. I think that it's helped him. It's a different role. Last year, he was the guy that was always being talked to by Alex and Joey. Now he's got a young guy behind him that he's kind of mentoring and tutoring. So, it's our youngest position, no question. So it's going to be a key for us this year. Can we get solid, play, out of a sophomore and freshman at that spot? I think we can. That's why they were recruited. I think they're both really good players, and there's going to be growing pains. But there's no question that's our inexperience is down low, and we have to hopefully those 2 guys kind of form a nice 2-headed monster where they're different players too, which I think is good. They kind of bring different things. Derek is the more active, mobile, run the floor, and Barrett is the more, prototypical kind of big-bodied, Big Ten big guy that you grow accustomed to seeing. So I think the fact that they have a little bit different skill set will help as well because they bring some different things to the table.
In an era of one and done, can a program which perhaps is more cohesive, has players here for 4 or 5 years in the same system, getting to know one another better, can that be an advantage?
I think so. I mean, look at the Final Four last year. Villanova had all old guys. North Carolina had all old guys. Oklahoma had a group of guys, I think, that started about 100 games together. And, and Syracuse was old. I mean, Mike Benajay was a 50-year senior. Trevor Kruner was a 50-year senior. I mean, so to me in college, you got to be old. You have a couple programs that are able to get those premier guys that, there's 3 or 4 programs that are getting all those guys. And that's kind of been their model, and they've won. The rest of us, if you talk to any coach, we got to get old. And especially in the Big Ten. I mean, you got to be old. You got to be experienced. You got to be hardened, and I kind of knew that coming in. That's why, we threw a lot of young kids into the fire the last couple years. We've had to start at least one freshman each of my first 3 years, because of kind of where we're at and talent base and all those things. I'm not sure that might happen this year. Not so sure it will happen this year. We're getting older guys, and I think that's a good thing. The guys have played a lot of basketball. They've been in big games. They've learned how to win, but they've also had their nose rubbed in it a little bit, and there's value in that. You get hungrier when you've had to go through a long journey and you've tasted some bad defeats, you've gone through some hard times. You know, when you're older, you draw back on those experiences and your sense of urgency. And I'm hoping this team will be able to do that. I mean, because along the way we've had our peaks and valleys. I mean, these guys now they had to live through a 10-game losing streak a couple years ago as freshmen. I mean, that's not fun. You know, you gotta live with some really tough, narrow defeats at the end of games that I know sting these guys, and hopefully that'll make us tougher and stronger and even more determined to close some of those games out this year.
Any other questions, Coach? All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.